Hello, my name is Lightworker, and this is a video to explain how I was gang-stalked and targeted for over 10 years. Without going into individual situations and getting too much in depth, because I mean obviously over 10 years is going to be a lot to talk about. Basically I was gang-stalked. It started with friends that were part of a hip-hop / criminal syndicate. Then it went to cyber syndicates. Then it went to bikey outlaw motorcycle gangs. Then it went to police. Then it went to federal police. Then it went to black ops military operations involving trying to gang stalk me. And all under the intelligence agency known as the c.i.a. It went on for 10 years, and they were trying to gang stalk me in order to frame me for the cyber crimes of an international sex cult known as the Family International. Okay? And for a long time I thought I was crazy. They even, I went through the medical system and they gave me diagnoses and all that kind of stuff because I was trying to stand in my truth the whole time. I knew I wasn't crazy. I know I'm not crazy. This society is pretty fucking crazy. But long story short, that's what went on for a period of 10 years. And I came very close to being framed. I came very close to being set up. I came very close to ending my own life over this. All the tactics that went on, all the fears I had running through my head constantly, not knowing what was going on, feeling very confused, like thinking I was in psychosis, questioning myself because I'd been gaslit on a society level. And, those times when I came close to being framed, or I came close to being murdered by these groups, something intervened. The universe, God, higher power of your own choosing, if you will. Everyone's perception is their reality. My perception is all of those things. The universe is God, my perception. My higher power is God and the universe. They're all the same. And God works in mysterious ways through spirit. And spirit works through people. And everything surrounding, living creatures. So, I came to realize that I was heavily protected. Now, I knew nothing about the spiritual realm at this time. I knew nothing about the c.i.a. I knew nothing about black ops military. But let me put this, okay. When I had, 40 to 50 syndicate members, part of this hip-hop / criminal syndicate that I used to be friends with because I was a hip-hop artist for a long time. Still am. If you like my music, check it out. I'll put it in the link below. I just went through situations constantly over a period of 10 years that led me down this rabbit hole where I found out these truths. Like the Family International is a cult, an international sex cult that traffics children and humans to elites worldwide. With the green light of the c.i.a, I don't think, I'm not sure if the Australian Federal Police know that it's them. I know that they investigate sects of the cult involved for similar crimes. But the c.i.a run the online websites on the dark web. They control it. They've created them. They control it. And it's basically websites where any criminal can put up their crimes that they've done on video cam and put the video cam footage of the crime on that website. And then if enough sickos download that crime for a paid price, the criminal gets money, but he doesn't get money straight away. He has to, with the c.i.a.'s advice and intelligence, go out and frame someone else for the crime, or hide the body of the crime somehow, whatever the crime involves, from the CIA's intelligence that is given to the criminal. And the criminals can just go on this website through the dark web and upload their crime. And if it's successful as a video, then they get a following of sickos, then they get lots of money, but they don't get to touch the money until they've found out a way to blame someone else or completely hide the crime. And once they've done that, then they get 25% of the whole amount of the money that's made from that video. All the rest of the money goes to the CIA. And then the CIA pay off the government. It's fucked up. But it's true. And I've known this for a while, and I've been quite afraid to put this out there because I am worried that I might get murdered for it. Because the CIA are known for murdering people. I mean, shit, they killed JFK. But if I don't stand in my truth, what the fuck do I stand for? And I believe that it's wrong that worldwide targeted individuals are being V2K'd and being surveillanced and being stalked and being controlled out of their own fear, and then having sick elites and the CIA frame them while the elites harvest their energy. They call it loosh. Look into it. It's fucked up. You know? Also, a bunch of sick, rich motherfuckers can drink baby blood and rape kids. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. And look, you don't have to believe me. For a long time, I didn't believe me. But I know it's true. I don't question whether it's true anymore. You know? And I realize what my purpose is. My purpose is to expose these organizations. You know? To bring light on the darkness. And I mean, if you look at the Epstein files, how many rich motherfuckers are pedwars, you know? PDF file motherfuckers. Disgusting. You know? This is Australia, mate. You know? Have a shrimp on the barbie. Don't be fucking trying. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and I mean, when I looked at the Epstein files, you know, Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, you know, there's a undisclosed court criminal court case, undisclosed criminal court case that is conspiracy because they had to withhold the information of the court case because one of the court cases involved one of our previous prime ministers. Now, I'm not trying to say go out with a pitchfork and kill a whole bunch of pedos. I mean, you can do what you want. Okay, do what you want. That's not how we fix the problem. We don't need a physical violent revolution. What we need is a spiritual revolution. And that means it starts from within. So we no longer turn a blind eye and condone the shit that the elite are doing. We no longer sit back in our little blind matrix mental state and disregard all the facts that are now just in our faces and have always been in our faces. It's just when shit shocks us, sometimes we turn a blind eye because we don't know how to assimilate that into our conscious, but it still lives in our subconscious and it still fucks with us. You know? And I stand for something. I stand for truth. I stand for justice. I stand for the people. And I know that we can make a better world. And I think it's terrible, you know, how many people have been framed for this type of shit. How many rich elitist motherfuckers have gotten away from doing atrocities that make me sick to think of. And on top of that, the fact that at the highest level of intelligence, they're running the trafficking. They're in control of the trafficking. 100% they're in control of the trafficking. That's one of the main ways they make their bread and butter. And the worst thing is, it's not even just the trafficking. Then they have to make more money by video filming the trafficking and the child exploitation, and then make it into child exploitation and put it on the internet for more sick motherfuckers to buy. And I'm sick of it. I've had enough of it. Fuck the CIA. Fuck the federal government. You know? Straight up. You know, I speak the truth. And like I said, you don't have to believe me, but it is the truth. And for any targeted individual, I will do a video very soon that teaches you how to have the gang stalking stopped. And I promise you, it will work. It took me 10 years to figure it out, but I figured out exactly how to make the gang stalking stop. Okay, that'll be my next video, okay? Alright, thank you. If you like my stuff, follow me, because I intend to bring light to some very dark situations. I intend to create a platform for targeted individuals and chosen ones, star seeds, earth angels, all of the above. Because I'm sick of the light being left in the dark. I'm sick of the light being left in the cold. And I'm bringing fire. I'm bringing fire. Thank you. Peace. Hello everyone, I'm Lightworker. Okay, so I was gang-stalked for 10 years by the CIA, by the Australian government, and by an international sex cult known as the Family International, all working together to hide their crimes. And this video is going to explain what they were doing. Okay, so I have to do this piece by piece. So I'll start with the CIA. We all know what the CIA is. You know, it's a American-based foreign country intelligence agency. So a worldwide intelligence agency that deals with matters that are outside of America. Really what they are is a giant satanic reptilian evil manipulation agency. Okay? And then we got the Family International. Okay, so we got a Luciferian sex cult disguised as a church that traffics humans and traffics children for two reasons. For a thing called swapping, or destiny swapping, if you will, soul trapping, and also for loose harvesting. And the way they do this is the Family International. You know, they've been around for over 50 years. They originated as a Protestant church in America. And when the American feds were about to raid their communes for child exploitation, they dispersed internationally. Okay? And they're still going. They're still, you know, they're originally known as the Children of God. And they're terrible. How could you harm, you know, humans and innocent little ones in the name of a church, disguised as a church? That's fucked up. It's because they're demonic. And what they do is they have a very organized international empire that traffics children and harvests fear and trauma from the children and from humans that are being gang-stalked and in fear. It's called loose harvesting. And there's multiple ways they go about this, but the CIA is the government body that not only condones it, but profits from it. And also gives the intelligence as to how to go about it. It's very well organized, and they traffic children to elites that can afford it. They sell adrenochrome to elites that can afford it, because only elites can afford that type of putrid shit. Okay? And adrenochrome, if you don't know, is the blood of traumatized innocent beings. Okay? And they ritualize it. Satanic rituals. There's satanic cults all around the world. The Family International is one of them. The c.i.a. is a satanic intelligence agency. 100%. 100%. And they attempted for 10 years, whilst gang-stalking me, to frame me for cybercrimes that I wasn't completely aware of the exact ins and outs of the cybercrimes, but I know it involved an online website that the c.i.a. created and control that lets criminals upload videos of their crimes. And I'm sure there'd be satanic human sacrifices on there. I'm sure there'd be, videos of pedophilia, videos of rape, videos of murders. The mind can only wonder what a website on the dark web would have on it if any criminal can upload any crime that they choose. And that's what the c.i.a. offer. And the c.i.a. make a lot of money from all this. Yeah, and that's what I've learnt from being gang-stalked for 10 years and going to war psychologically and emotionally and spiritually, and in certain ways physically too, for 10 years with these groups. One out. And I'm still here, I'm still standing. My heart can't be touched. My heart does not belong to low frequency beings. My heart belongs to the highest of highs. And my heart can't be tarnished by falsehoods or putrosity. I don't resonate on those levels of frequency. And I know that my highest purpose is to expose these organizations and to bring light on the evil shit they get up to. Man. I mean, you got Family International, selling kids to elites, and you're sacrificing, letting elites sacrifice these children to like the royal family, to like Freemasons at the highest level, the Brotherhood at the highest level, the Catholic Church at the highest fucking level. All because they've been inverted. They're all satanic. They all worship evil. Deities and shit. Because they believe that's the way to power, through sacrificial spell work and satanic doctrine. Fuck that. I'm a real motherfucker. I'm a human physical formation of light. And I do not intend to allow anything, no matter how powerful they think they are, control my reality. I do not allow any entity, group, person, or deity destroy my humanity, or allow people to go unheard, remain broken, be gang-stalked, be sacrificed, be sexually exploited, all for money and power. What's the point of having money and power if you traded your fucking soul? And look, I used to worry about bringing this to light. I used to worry about all that shit. But have no fear, because fear does not exist. Took me a long time to realize that. But in all honesty, I couldn't give a fuck. I will die for the cause if I have to, but I can't be touched, because one of my spiritual gifts is protection. One of my spiritual gifts is the ability to reach the Akashic records through automatic writing. One of my spiritual gifts is a very, very in-depth, multi-dimensional layer of intuition called clairsentience at the highest level. And I refuse to be fucked with by low-frequency fuckheads that want to be sick and putrid. So I call judgment. And I won't allow this shit to go on. So I'm speaking out. Okay? And it's really sad how our society's gotten, you know? Like at the highest level of our politics, they're all putrid, satanic, fucking pedophile, fucking baby blood drinking pieces of shit. In Australia, in the UK, in America, First World is run by putrids. And I come from the gutter. I've seen true evil at work. But I have never, ever fucking become a piece of shit, because I know that I'm meant for better than that. And I don't resonate on those low frequency levels. You know? Like I felt true pain, true sadness, but I've never felt true hatred. I felt true anger, but I've never felt true vengeance. And I know that the way to defeat these corporations, these cults, these government bodies, these inverted, parasitic, sick, low-frequency fuckheads, is to have a spiritual revolution. And I know I'll succeed in creating that, because that's my highest purpose. That's what I came here to do. So, if this resonates with you as a viewer, and I know it will, because it's the truth, we need to start ascending spiritually. We need to all start speaking out against the authorities. We need to all stop condoning their putrid shit by turning a blind eye. We need to rise up individually, not as a group collectively in violence, but as individually ascending spiritually. And from that, we shall create a better world. A world where innocent children are not being molested, raped, and sacrificed. An innocent child should be protected. Like I said, I'm willing to die for the cause. And intelligence agencies that condone this shit, that conduct this shit. Did you know that the world's leading organization in human trafficking and child exploitation is the c.i.a? Did you know that? Because it's the fucking truth. Guess what? All the authorities, in terms of our government bodies, the police at the highest level, intelligence agencies at the highest level, black ops military, they all know this. Even criminal syndicates know this, because they're getting paid from the c.i.a. Not directly, through online dark web websites that pay cyber syndicates to frame other people for the crimes put up by other criminals on the website. That's run, created, and orchestrated by the c.i.a. I've had enough of this shit. It makes me feel sick to know we live in a world where people are profiting off the horrible, horrible, satanic, putrid, indecent destruction of innocence. And the rich are living longer by drinking the blood of innocents? What the fuck is that? I've had enough. So I'm speaking out. Hi, my name is Lightworker. And I guess I should start with if you like this video, please follow me on FB and YT and Insta and all that. I'm just starting to expose the darkness and create a platform for the light, in a sense. And I stand for righteousness and truth. And I also am a chosen one. I'm a targeted individual for over 10 years. And I've learned a lot through that. I've grown a lot. But today, in this video, I thought, my first video was an introductory. In my second video, I thought, most people would wait 10 videos before they give you the answer that most targeted individuals have been searching for so long. I thought that was unfair because I wish someone gave me this knowledge when I was being targeted straight away. If I could gain this knowledge and implement it through wisdom, which is knowledge that is being used in the physical form. Wisdom is knowledge you act on. Okay? So this knowledge that I hope you turn into wisdom, I wish someone gave it to me, in my first fucking week of being gang-stalked and being targeted. Now, I'll jump straight in. I don't want to, fuck around. I want to give you just the answer to that because it's important. And hopefully you'll take this knowledge, implement it in your life, do whatever it takes to build a routine daily that truly implements these tools. And I hope this helps because that's my only intention. Okay, so the first thing about being gang-stalked is you must understand that I don't care if you're not spiritual, everything is spiritual. Okay? And even if you don't see it as spiritual, this world is a simulation. It is a matrix. Okay? Everything is just energy in a physical, dense form. Okay? Now, I don't want to overcomplicate the situation. I just want to drum that in. Everything is spiritual. Let's put it this way. To make it more simple, everything is electricity. Electricity is energy. Okay? Now, energy from a spiritual level is ether. Electricity from a scientific level is electricity. They're still energy. Okay? They're the same thing. Okay, so I guess I'll try and dumb this down in two ways for you. Everything is spiritual and everything is mental. Okay, I'll take it from I'll take to the best of my ability. I'm just winging it here. I know what I've done to make the gang stalking stop. So I'm going to explain it on two levels. I'm going to explain it on a spiritual level. Then I'm going to explain it on a psychological level. So the people that aren't yet spiritual or don't want to be spiritual can understand it from a mental level. So I can help as many people as possible. So everything is spiritual or everything is psychological. Okay, yeah. The first thing I would suggest you do is you must, no matter how hard it is, create boundaries within yourself. See, discipline is self-respect in action. You must be disciplined and willing, and I don't mean just willing, but I mean you must completely cut out. See, most of it isn't what we're doing that's wrong. It's not everything around us that's going on that's the issue. Okay? It's what we're allowing to go on because of our psyche or because of that's on a psychological level, on a spiritual level, because of the energies we're allowing in our energy. So the biggest thing to do with having the gang stalking stop is to cut shit out of your life that no longer serves your highest purpose. Now, the first thing I would suggest is all the people that you have in your life that you can't trust. And even if you do trust them and things, because whether we're spiritual or whether we're psychological, we can read energy on a spiritual level. If you want to go from a psychological level, I'll dumb it down a little bit for you. Everything is visible to the facial expression. Micro fucking emotional tics. Micro expressions. Body language. Read that shit way more than reading people's words. Okay? That will give you a good understanding. Read a room. The energy in a room. Or the people's physical nature's expressions in a room. Okay? Now, I would love to make this just spiritual, but I want to help as many people as possible, so I have to do it on both levels. Okay? For me, I found it much easier to, when I finally surrendered to the fact that the spiritual realm is the first realm where energy comes from, and we're in another realm that's not the first realm, so everything that happens in the first realm happens way before it happens in the physical realm. The first realm, the spiritual realm, shit happens before it happens in the physical realm. Okay? That's my understanding of it. And what I can say from a psychological perspective is what happens in your mind happens way before it happens in the world around you. And what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, you must cut shit out of your life that doesn't serve your highest purpose. People, places, things, and emotional states of being, mental patterns of thought, physical patterns of behavior. All those things that no longer serve your highest purpose, you must cut out. If you've got a friend that's a fuckwit, fuck them off. If you've got a drug addiction, fuck it off. If you've got a sex addiction, fuck that shit off. You know what I'm saying? These things, if you hang around trap spots because you're using drugs, fuck it off. Okay? These things really, really affect your frequency. And what I mean is your thought, okay, on a spiritual level, your frequency is your emotional state of energy. On a psychological level, it is your thought process that creates your emotions. Okay? Now, it's the same thing, it's just two different perspectives of it. Okay? So I'm trying to get as many people to understand this as possible, because everyone that is being targeted, everyone that is being gang-stalked deserves this gift of knowledge. It took me 10 fucking years to figure this shit out. And I spent a long time in fear, a long time in resentment, a long time in self-loathing, a long time as a drug addict, a long time as homeless, a long time being gang-stalked, a long time being targeted, a long time thinking I was crazy when I wasn't, a long time being gaslit by a whole society. And now I stand in my truth because I know. I have an inner knowing. I understand, understand, and overstand how I have stopped myself from being gang-stalked. I tried everything. I went to war with an international sex cult on a fucking military level, steez. And I was just a homeless drug addict at the time. Watching Black Ops helicopters go over my head and float above me and then stop, and rotate and shit like that multiple times. And fucking, I've seen shit you wouldn't believe, but it's all true. It's all true. And you don't have to believe it. This isn't, I just realized something. If you don't believe it, scroll the fuck on. This isn't for you. I'm trying to help people that have been in this situation. I'm not trying to please the masses. For me, this isn't about entertainment. This is about education. Okay? Now, so the first thing is cut all the shit out of your life that no longer serves your highest purpose. Now, the second thing, and what I would suggest, the way to do it, I did it, is cut one thing out at a time. because the second thing has to be implemented pretty quickly after you cut that thing out. And the second thing is you must replace it with something that's positive. Okay? And I don't mean you think it's positive. You must know it's positive. So you must look into something. Say it's a person, yeah, that you cut out of your life. A whole group of people. You know what I replaced with the whole group of people? All my friendship circle that I cut out? I replaced it with sobriety. I replaced it with self-love. Okay? That's what I replaced it with. And I used everything in my, everything at hand. I don't like the word disposal. That's a fucked up word. Everything at my hands, grabbable ability. I don't know what the word is for that. Yeah. To implement these more positive things in my life. Okay? And it wasn't easy, but I did it because I knew that if I wanted to live a happy life and find peace, because I was fucking sick of just surviving, I needed to cut out everything in my life that wasn't helping me. I needed to have self-love, self-respect, and I needed to be responsible for my own destiny. They say make a plan or become part of someone else's. Now me, I can't do one day's work for another motherfucker. I can't stand working for another motherfucker. I sit there, I remember once I was working them, when was it? For example, I was working at this florist, yeah, once. Because I like trees and I like plants and I like flowers and shit. But I was working for this florist and he kept, backbiting at me and telling me what to do in a real rude manner. And I'm sitting there cutting these flowers up like, fuck this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't work for someone else because I don't like feeling like I'm overstood. Yeah? I don't like feeling like I'm feeding a system. I'm serving a conglomerate demonic entity, all in the name of a false reality and society we call a democracy, which is really a fucking slavery, international slavery encampment known as the First World Governments. Yeah? That are demonic and satanic and do unspeakable things to the most innocent and beautiful and broken people. And I'm so sick of it. Anyway, back to my point. Okay, so you cut out all the shit that doesn't serve you one by one. This is a process, okay? It's not, I'm not going to hand you this knowledge and you're like, I'm fixed. It's not going to work like that. You have to work at it. So you have to cut out all the shit that no longer serves your highest purpose. You have to then replace it with something that's positive for yourself. Now, if it's a person, it doesn't have to be people, it can be people. Connection is important. I replaced all the people that were trying to fuck my life up, that were friends to me, so-called friends, frenemies, with people in sobriety. People that didn't want to hurt me. People that do 12-step fellowship meetings. And that's what worked for me in order for me to stop using drugs. And then I had a lot of unresolved trauma and resentment towards society, people, government agencies, police, all that stuff. And I had to work through that stuff. I had a lot of resentments towards an ex that tried to frame me in this process. She assisted heavily in trying to frame me. I have friends that tried to frame me and try to kill me. Multiple times. And I was extremely bitter, extremely angry, but I wasn't hateful. I don't resonate with hate. I don't resonate with revenge. I was just withdrawn, and I was a hermit. I had a very long dark night of the soul, if you know what that is. A very long one. Until I learned to trust in the process and the universe and let go. And the way I learned to do that, okay, so like I said, I'll reinforce it again because this is the most important thing. Cut out everything that doesn't serve your highest purpose. Replace those things with things that serve your highest purpose. You know the things you want, they're generally not what you fucking need. The things you need, they're the things you should implement in your fucking life. Now, the second thing I realized is I was extremely traumatized. I couldn't walk down the street and not think I was seeing someone trying to gang stalk me when they weren't. Okay? I put every person in my life in the same box. Everyone's gang stalking me because I couldn't differentiate my thoughts and my reality anymore, even though because they're so interconnected. And for so long I was running from fucking government. I was running from the government. Not because of anything I'd done, but because they were trying to frame me and they were gang stalking me at extremely fucking full-on levels, okay? And so I realized that I needed to start to deal with this trauma. So once again, use everything within your hand's length or your disposal. I hate the word disposal. Right. And I firstly went and saw a trauma counsellor. Yeah? Now, if you're an Australian, luckily we have Medicare. You can get a mental health care plan from your doctor. Your doctor can then find you a counsellor who's a psychologist, and you can get 6 sessions with a psychologist for free under the Medicare. Yeah, you can actually make it 12 sessions or 10 or 12 sessions if you go back to your doctor and get them to extend it after the first 6. Now, that's what I did. Yeah, and I started unpacking all of the traumas and going through. They say you shouldn't force someone to relive a trauma. That's bullshit. You shouldn't re-traumatize the person by putting them in situations that create that trauma again. Very true. But for the person, I utilize the thing called shadow work. And shadow work is where you go into yourself. You sit and you close your eyes and you go into yourself and you imagine interacting with the person that you're resentful or you're in fear of or you're traumatized by. Okay? And you have a conversation. And this conversation is a back and forth conversation using your own mind that has you speak your fears or your hurt or your trauma. And then has your mind feed you back an answer. Feed you back the answers. Because what you're doing is you're stopping the trauma from fragmenting your subconscious. And you're re-assimilating your subconscious memory back into your conscious by working out the trauma by facing it internally. Okay? And I did this. I did this for a long period of time, And I thought it'd be a lot harder than it was, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. There was lots of times where I would finish my shadow work session in tears, but that was good. There's nothing wrong with crying. In fact, crying is an alchemization of emotion. Okay? When you're in anger, that's a bit of an issue because anger is a secondary emotion. Anger comes from sadness. Okay? The primary emotion that causes anger is sadness. And when you alchemize the sadness and you let it out by crying, you're freeing yourself of that sadness, which compounds your ability to re-assimilate your subconscious trauma into your conscious. Okay? So that's very important. That was paramount to me. I got an app as well, okay, that I do every day just to clean my subconscious and keep my consciousness in right order. And it's called Shadow Work by Mindberg Institute. Okay? It's a very good app. I use it every day. And it just gives you a couple of tasks to perform in terms of being your true, authentic self, not being complacent, and living in your truth, and like things like responsibility, self-discipline. It just teaches you that stuff. And they also have a course on there about trauma that you can utilize the app for to go through. I think it costs about $20 a month, the app. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I did that, and I felt so much better after a while of doing shadow work. I also, started realizing that I was quite anxious. The trauma, a lot of the traumas were getting resolved because of the shadow work, because of the counseling. And I didn't really go through I wouldn't say I went through a long-term grief process. I think the process of grief is flawed because it's a process you go through if you don't really face your traumas or your fears or your resentments. This is my personal opinion. I think the grief process is what you go through if you don't truly look and face and get the lesson from that trauma, that fear. Okay, because the whole point of shadow work is to go within yourself, to have this conversation. You might have to do it a whole bunch of times. Repeat the attempt to resolve the thought that created the thought that created the trauma, to assimilate it back into your conscious. You might have to repeat the shadow work over and over and over and over and over again until you resolved it. Because in my personal opinion, shadow work doesn't always bring the whole trauma to your conscious. I think that would overload your mind. What it does is it brings increments back into your conscience each time. Okay? So, and once you've done the shadow work, it gets you to a point of not acceptance, approval. Not saying it was okay, saying that it no longer affects you. Okay? So approval meaning, acceptance can still leave traces of trauma. Approval, in other words, you look at the situation in love. And the reason why you look at the situation in love is because of the lesson and the self-growth you gained from that trauma. And that's weird. I know it sounds fucked up. I mean, I was, as a child, I was abused for 10 years in horrible ways, And that trauma stuck with me for a long time. And I did a lot of fucking shadow work to deal with that trauma. But I not only forgive, the person who did that, I sit in compassion of the person who did that. And the reason why is because I don't want to live in just accepting a situation. That's what we've been doing for ages. I want to live in compassion of a situation. Okay? I don't want to approve. I don't want to just accept. I want to have compassion. Okay? And the reason why I wanted to do the shadow work is because I felt so weighed down by my traumas. I felt so weighed down by my resentments. I felt so weighed down by things that were outside of myself that had affected me. And it started to affect my mental. It started making me really fearful. It started making me really overwhelmed. I used to have panic. I was homeless. I was on drugs, running from government level gang stalking, having panic attacks, sleeping in parks. And I mean, like on the park bench. That's where my life had gotten to because of being a targeted individual. And also because I was, I had no solutions to this ongoing situation. Okay, so back to my point. Sorry, I keep going off track. I keep rambling. I just want to punch in the knowledge, because it's really important. I explain all this stuff. So you got cut out everything that doesn't assist you and help you reach your highest purpose. Replace those things with things that do help you, your highest purpose and your highest self. Do the shadow work for the situations, people, places, and things that you're affected by. I realized, now this is the next thing, I realized I was really anxious, and I was still quite, not fearful, because the shadow work dealt with a lot of the fear. I was anxious and a bit lost. So I started doing meditation. Now, the way I started doing meditation, because I can now, but for a long time I couldn't sit in silence for a long period of time. I got more and more anxious. So what I did is I downloaded an app called, what was it called? Insight Timer. Now, this is a great app. You can either choose to pay for it or just utilize the majority of the app for free. It's a great app. I use it every day. Okay, now Insight Timer, I think it costs like $80 or $90 a year to use, or you can just use most of it for free. And Insight Timer has like 5 to 25 minute meditations that are mindfulness meditations, breathwork meditations. They also have like music that you can listen to that is calming music, spiritual music. They have manifestation meditations and a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay, now I used this app to start to calm my mind down, because I realized if I spend 10 minutes in the present, and through a few meditations that I did, I learned that the best way for me to meditate is to go back to my breath. If I close my eyes and I just focus on me breathing and the sensation of me breathing, it's bringing me into the present, which is one of the main purposes of meditation, to make us present. Now, what this did was made me able to, instead of rapidly go about my day in responses to things and situations in a hypersensitive manner, it calmed me, because I also learned to, before I make any decision, before I do anything, before I stand up, before I turn my head towards someone, breathe. Okay? And then I was able to go about my days without rushing, which stopped a lot of the anxiety. Yeah? Now, the other thing I'd add about the first thing about cutting out the people is I would suggest that you find some healthy group to go to classes for or join. If there's something you're interested in, go to classes. Don't just look it up online. Go to a class once a week. For me, it was 12-step fellowship meetings that I do every day. That's where I get my connection. And 12-step fellowship meetings are amazing. They are paramount to my life and living in my higher purpose today. But I don't want to get into that. I just want to point out the things that I needed to do to stop being gang-stalked. Now, so we've got cut out all the shit that doesn't serve your higher self. Replace them with shit that does serve your higher self. Do shadow work. Do counseling. Do the things to free yourself from the things that are holding you down mentally. Meditate so that you're not so overwhelmed, and you can be present. Yeah? And if you do these 4 things, like with fearless honesty and rigorousness, and be thorough and be guarded in your endeavors, you will free up a lot of your energy. You will free up a lot of your mental space. You will free up a lot of your negative frequency that you've been living in. And it will give you the ability to be around people, do things, start to implement things in your life that raise your frequency. Now, this is the whole point I was getting to. The way you stop being gang-stalked is to raise your frequency on an emotional, mental, and spiritual level. Okay? Because if you know anything about loose harvesting, right? These lower frequency entities or people or whatever beings, right, on earth, they feed off low frequency energy. So if you're in fear, they can feed off that. If you're in hate, they can feed off that. If you're in vengefulness, they can feed off that. You know, I think the biggest one for them is fear. They love feeding off fear. They love feeding off trauma, which is sick. So sick. You know? They love inverting shit. You know? And they love playing sides and creating sides. You know? The point of the raising your frequency is, if you raise your frequency, then you'll learn to stop living in fear, which fixes your first chakra. Then you'll learn how to manifest, which fixes your you'll learn how to stand in your truth, right? I won't go into the chakras, it's too much. I'll be honest with you, I don't know too much about the chakras, but I know your solar plex is where you manifest from. And your lower self, which is your, I don't even know the name of it, your pelvis groin chakra, right? That is where fear comes from, and magic. Okay, and I really want humanity to raise and ascend in frequency. Okay? And I know for a fact that the way I got the gang-stalking to stop for good was by raising my frequency on a mental, spiritual level. And what that did was gave me the ability to choose where I place my emotions. Because what these low frequencies people feed off is not actual frequency, it's the emotion in the frequency that gives off the vibration of the frequency. That's what they feed off. So if your emotions, are in fear, they're having a big lunch. Yeah? If your emotions are in fear, knowledge, authenticity, not fear, love. Fuck that up. It's love, education, knowledge, compassion, authenticity. Those things, they're very high frequencies. And the point is, why I'm trying to explain this is because if you have a low frequency being trying to affect you and you're on a high frequency, they have nothing to attach to because you're not on their frequency. So they can't affect you. And this will eventually make the gang stalking stop. Because the reason why they're gang stalking is for two reasons. To harvest the loosh, which is your energy on a low frequency. Well, loosh is energy. But harvesting the loosh, which is low frequency based energy because they're low frequency beings, to traumatize and fragment the psyche through ways of manipulation and mind control, which is really what gang stalking is. And eventually the end point is to have you end your own life in a prison cell because you're framed for something terrible that these groups and organizations have done. Now, it's important to implement those four things. Now, the fifth thing that's very important as well is because doing these four things won't take up your whole day. What should take up the majority of the day once you be doing these four things, cut out the shit that doesn't serve your highest purpose. Replace them with things that serve your highest purpose. Shadow work, meditation. Do as much of this as you can. Remember that cutting people out of your life and places out of your life involves two important things: discipline and boundaries. Okay? Fundamental. If you have no discipline, you have no boundaries, people are just going to walk all over you. You're going to be a fucking doormat. And no one wants to be a doormat. You know? So, after you've done those four things, what you must do after you've been doing those four things for a while, and your day is pretty, I say, if between the hours of 9 to 12 o'clock you're doing those four things, what I would suggest is from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock you spend time creating. Okay? And the way I found that it was best to create is, and I'll put it in this sense, it's very simple. Whatever you love to do, as long as it ain't a crime, and whatever you love to do, as long as it's for the greater good and harm to no one, do it. Do it obsessively. Do it obsessively. But what I suggest you do is all the things you learnt from the trauma, from the shadow work, from learning how to use boundaries, from cutting people out, from all the stuff you went through being gang-stalked, turn it into power. Turn your pain into power through your creations. Yeah? Because everything is energy. And if you harvest within yourself that amount of energy from that amount of knowledge, and you lead in the things that you want to create through your emotions surrounding that knowledge, once you've done the shadow work and you're no longer in fear of that knowledge, right? You will create amazing things and you will be very successful. That's basically it. 5 things. I'll say it again. Cut out the shit that doesn't serve your highest purpose. Replace them with things that serve your highest purpose. And I mean, when I say cut out things, cut out everything. People, places, things, situations. Cut them out. If someone comes to you and starts making you feel in a negative way, just walk the fuck away from them. Don't entertain bullshit. Don't entertain illusions. Yeah? If you're feeling worried because of the stuff going on in the news, stop watching the fucking news. Replace it with shit that really nourishes you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Okay? The things you love to do, your hobbies. I'm not talking about a 9-to-5 job. Everyone's going to make money. I understand that. But I promise you, if you dedicate yourself to these 5 things and implement them in your life for, I don't know, a year, every day, rigorously and honestly and responsibly, implement them in your life every day, and you're also creating at the same time every day using the method that I just told you, you will be successful. You won't need to work a 9-to-5. I guarantee that. Anyway, I hope this helped. If you like my video, please follow me on YT, FB, Insta. I also make music. I'll put that in the link below. I'm writing a book. It's going to be a good book. So I hope this helps, because it took me over 10 years to figure this out. Thank you. Peace.